There was a man who, despite being admired by many, felt a huge void within himself. He was surrounded by friends, he was successful in his career, and yet he felt invisible in his own home. The woman, with whom he shared his life, seemed distant. Each day, he asked himself what else he could do to get her attention, to feel seen and valued. But the pain of being ignored, of not being recognized, was taking over him. He tried everything, small words of affection, grand gestures, even surprises, but it seemed like nothing touched her heart. Then, one silent night, when he laid down thinking about everything he had done so far, he realized that he was doing everything wrong. He was trying to prove himself to her, trying to be the man he thought she wanted, but losing himself in the process. He realized that by trying to please her, he was losing his own worth. He was seeking external validation, when he should have been cultivating his own self-esteem, acting with dignity, and not in a rush to be noticed. It was there that he remembered the teachings of Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, who said that the true value of a man is not found in words or gestures made to please others, but in his silent actions, which speak louder than any speech. From that moment on, he decided to change the way he presented himself, no longer trying to impress or seek approval, but standing firm in his own principles and values. And then, without needing to say a word, he began to show his true worth. Slowly but surely, the woman began to notice the difference. Something had changed. He no longer needed empty words, because his actions were telling her everything she needed to know. Now, imagine if you could do the same. What if it were possible to transform the dynamics of your relationship silently, showing who you really are, without the need for a single speech? Right now, I'm going to share 9 actions based on Stoicism that will transform your relationship and, more importantly, show your true value, without words, but with power. Before we start talking about how to show your true value, make sure you're already subscribed to the channel. If not, sign up now. The next videos will bring an exclusive series on how to apply the principles of Stoicism to transform your relationships. Recognize your inherent value. Imagine a precious stone forgotten at the bottom of a drawer. Despite the dust that covers it or the indifference of those who ignore it, it continues to be valuable, because its essence does not change. Likewise, Stoicism teaches us that a man's worth does not depend on how others see him, but on his own perception and conviction about who he is. This is the starting point for any meaningful relationship, recognizing your own worth, regardless of external validation. Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, believe that our essence is like raw gold, immutable in its value, even if buried or forgotten. He said that external things, such as other people's opinions or compliments, are just passing reflections and do not determine who we are. In the context of relationships, this teaching is fundamental. A woman values a man who knows who he is and who doesn't need constant approval to feel complete. Recognizing your own worth is not arrogance, but rather a silent commitment to yourself. It's understanding that you are enough and that your self-esteem should be based on the principles you live by, not the expectations you try to meet. This quiet confidence not only commands respect, but lays a solid foundation for authentic interactions. When you become aware of your own essence, it becomes easier to deal with emotional challenges without losing your balance. Imagine a storm at sea. The boat may rock, but the sailor who knows the course and trusts his compass does not get lost. Likewise, a man who understands his worth navigates the ups and downs of a relationship with equanimity. This awareness of yourself is the first step to creating genuine connections. When you recognize that you are valuable, even if the world around you seems distracted or blind, you become the firm foundation a relationship needs. Present yourself with dignity. Imagine walking into a room full of people without saying a word, and yet everyone notices your presence. This is dignity, a silent strength that emanates from those who live in alignment with their values. Stoicism teaches that it is not about impressing others, but about being in harmony with yourself. When you show respect for yourself, you automatically establish how you expect to be treated. Epictetus, one of the great names in Stoicism, said that it is not events that define us, but how we react to them. This wisdom applies directly to human relationships. When you present yourself with dignity, you demonstrate that you are a man who values himself, who has principles, and is not willing to give up on them for convenience. It's an act of quiet leadership that invites others to genuinely respect you. Presenting yourself with dignity is not about ostentation or arrogance. It's about posture, authenticity, and respect for yourself. It's not about speaking louder or being the center of attention, but about acting with purpose and consistency. A woman notices this in small gestures, the way you speak, the way you listen, the way you face difficulties. True confidence comes from within, from knowing that you are doing your best without deviating from your values. This inner force is magnetic. People are naturally attracted to those who have a steady, calm presence. It is like a sturdy tree that remains standing even during the strongest winds. This emotional stability not only strengthens your relationships with others, but also inspires confidence and admiration. In today's world, where many seek validation in appearances or on social media, presenting yourself with dignity is a revolutionary act. It's showing that you don't need applause to feel complete, that true respect starts with you, and that, by living authentically, you attract connections that really matter. Hey, had you ever heard about these points? Did you know it existed? Share in the comments if you've already been through this, or if you know the story of someone you know who has experienced this. I will help you in the comments. Value silence as a form of communication. Not everything needs to be said. Sometimes actions, or even the absence of words, communicate more than any speech could. Silence, often underestimated, carries unparalleled power. For the Stoics, what matters is not filling space with empty words, but acting in a way that demonstrates respect, limits, and authenticity. Silence, when used with purpose, shows safety, self-control, and understanding of the moment. Imagine a scenario in which someone tries to provoke a reaction from you. The immediate impulse would be to rebut, justify, or defend oneself. However, by choosing to remain silent, you not only demonstrate self-control, but you also send a clear message. You will not be manipulated by the emotions of others. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, believed that real power lies in the ability to govern oneself, and this includes choosing when to speak and, more importantly, when not to speak. In a relationship, silence can be a powerful tool for demonstrating value. Responding to a problem or disagreement calmly, without reactivity, conveys a rare maturity. Your partner will notice that your actions are intentional, that you are not acting on impulse or seeking constant validation. This creates an environment where respect and trust flourish. Valuing silence also means knowing how to listen, giving your partner space to express their ideas, fears, and dreams without interruption is one of the greatest demonstrations of respect. When you truly listen, without rushing to respond, you communicate that her presence is important to you. Furthermore, silence also protects your energy and time. There is no need to justify your choices or explain every move. A man who knows what he wants and walks towards his goals, without getting lost in external noise, conveys a unique confidence. Well-used silence is the signature of those who value their own space and are not afraid of solitude. After all, in the emptiness of words, we often find clarity of who we really are. Have the courage to leave when necessary. Few decisions in life require as much strength as leaving behind what does not align with your values and your essence. However, this courage is one of the greatest acts of self-respect. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control others or circumstances, but we can choose where we put our energy and what we commit to. Staying in a situation that undermines your principles or destroys your peace is betraying yourself. Epictetus, one of the greats of Stoicism, often reinforced the idea that we are the guardians of our own freedom. He said that the key to living well is acting in accordance with reason and internal values, regardless of external pressures. In relationships, this means understanding when it's time to stay and when it's time to move on. Showing courage to leave is not an attitude of coldness or contempt, but of self-love and clarity. By choosing to walk away from something or someone who violates your principles, you communicate that your integrity is not for sale. It's a reminder that you value yourself enough to not accept less than you deserve. This not only elevates your perception of yourself, but also sets a standard for future connections. In conflict situations, many remain out of fear of loneliness, other people's opinions, or the unknown. However, Stoicism challenges us to view these fears as illusions. True strength comes from the ability to walk alone, if necessary, without losing direction or dignity. When you show the courage to leave, you send a powerful message to the world and to your partner, if applicable. It shows that you are committed to your truth, not external approval. This stance not only inspires respect, but also promotes more authentic relationships based on mutual respect and genuine admiration. After all, leaving, when done with clear purpose and values, is often the beginning of something bigger and truer. Effort and understanding in relationships, whether with a partner, friends, or family. There is always a great emphasis on effort. But what does it really mean to strive? It's not just about making grand gestures or making continuous sacrifices. True effort comes from a place of mutual understanding, of wanting to contribute to the well-being of the other, without, however, losing your own identity and principles. Stoicism teaches us that the strongest relationships are those in which people deeply respect each other, being able to invest time and energy without compromising their internal peace. Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, believed that it is essential to distinguish between what is in our control and what is not. In a relationship, the effort required is that which contributes to mutual growth, happiness, and balance. If both partners intentionally seek this growth, the relationship strengthens naturally and without external pressure. However, when one of the two begins to neglect their own needs and values to please the other, the relationship begins to lose its foundation. True effort is one that involves, at the same time, understanding and balance, without each person's individualism being sacrificed. Understanding the other person involves not only listening, but also understanding their needs and limits, without forcing changes that compromise what is essential. This means keeping an eye on other people's signals, demonstrating empathy, but without giving in to expectations that do not align with your own principles. Stoicism reminds us that we must be firm in our convictions and, at the same time, compassionate in our dealings with others. Ultimately, effort in relationships must be guided by internal wisdom, the search for balance and trust in the process of mutual growth. Instead of forcing something that doesn't flow, we should seek deep understanding and commitment to the principles that really matter, creating a solid foundation of respect and trust that sustains the relationship. Courage to leave when necessary in many aspects of life. Courage is necessary to face challenges and adversity. However, in some moments, true courage comes from knowing when it's time to leave. In a relationship, leaving does not mean failure, but rather the preservation of one's dignity and emotional health. Stoicism teaches us that, to live with integrity, we need the ability to remove ourselves from situations that are not aligned with our values. This is essential not only for personal well-being, but also to ensure that we can continue to grow and maintain healthy relationships that truly bring meaning to our lives. Take, for example, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who talked about the importance of focusing only on what we can control. If we are in a situation that exhausts us emotionally, that violates our principles, or that impedes our growth, we have the power to walk away. Instead of submitting ourselves to a toxic relationship, we can make a conscious decision not to accept behaviors that don't respect us or that violate our deepest values. The courage to leave is not an impulsive action, but a considered decision. When a relationship no longer serves as a source of growth, learning, and support, and begins to undermine our inner peace, the courage to walk away may be the best choice. This requires a clear understanding that our value does not depend on remaining in any type of relationship, but rather on our ability to act with self-knowledge and alignment with our principles. This courage is also a form of self-care. Just as a Stoic knows that he cannot control everything around him, but he can control his reactions and choices, a man aware of his value and principles must recognize when it is necessary to take a step back. Sometimes true strength lies in letting go of what doesn't serve you, to make room for what really makes sense in your life. Effort and understanding in relationships. Effort is essential to cultivate a deep and meaningful connection. Stoicism teaches us that continual growth is an essential part of any human interaction, and that it involves both giving and receiving. However, there is a common misconception that, by giving a lot of yourself, you can win the approval and affection of others. The true value in relationships is not in how much we do for others, but in the quality of our effort and how true we are to our own principles in the process. The philosopher Seneca wrote about the concept that we should care more about our own virtue than the acceptance or approval of others. This means that when investing in a relationship, it is essential that we do not lose sight of who we are and what we truly value. When we are in tune with our principles, the effort we dedicate to others becomes a natural extension of our self-understanding. It's not about trying to please or meet other people's expectations, but about being present genuinely and authentically. In practice, Stoicism proposes that each action is based on reason and self-respect. When we invest our time and energy in a relationship, it is important that this is done in a balanced way, without our value or identity depending exclusively on what the other expects of us. Mutual understanding, therefore, is a continuous process, where the effort is not measured by how much we are asked, but by the consistency with which we remain faithful to ourselves and the values that are essential. At the same time, the effort also requires the patience to understand that building any lasting bond takes time. Understanding each other's needs, without trying to be a savior, but a supportive partner, creates the foundation for a solid relationship. When both sides are aligned with their principles and have mutual respect, effort will always be a source of growth and learning, not a burden or sacrifice. Well, we're already more than halfway through the content, and I realize that you still haven't left a like on this video. This is very important so that YouTube continues to promote our content to you, and in this way we will continue to help you. So leave a like on this video, which is for free, right? Continuing, the courage to leave when necessary in the context of relationships. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that in order to show love or commitment, we must stay in any situation, even if it harms us or goes against our principles. Stoicism teaches us, however, that true strength lies in knowing when it is necessary to leave, when the relationship no longer reflects our values or promotes our growth. The courage to leave a situation that is not aligned with what we believe is right is, in fact, a demonstration of self-respect and understanding our intrinsic value. Epictetus, one of the most revered Stoic philosophers, spoke about the importance of knowing what is in our control and what is not. In many situations, we cannot control other people's attitudes or actions, but we have complete control over how we react to these situations. The Stoic, therefore, does not passively accept a relationship that diminishes him or takes away his peace. When a relationship takes us away from our fundamental principles, the courage to leave is not just a rational choice, but a necessity to preserve our emotional and mental integrity. This act of leaving, although it may seem difficult at first glance, reflects practical wisdom that strengthens our inner freedom. For the Stoic, being in a healthy relationship means being in an environment that challenges us to grow, but at the same time allows us to maintain our peace of mind. When this harmony is broken, the decision to move forward should be seen not as a defeat, but as a form of self-care. The courage to leave also implies not being afraid of what others might think of our decision. Our relationships should not be built on the fear of losing others' approval, but on the understanding that our true approval comes from within. By making the difficult decision to leave, we are actually reaffirming our commitment to our own values, and that, in itself, is a huge step forward on the path to self-sufficiency and inner peace. The balance between effort and principles in relationships. The balance between effort and principles is crucial to maintain emotional integrity and strengthen the connection with those who are by our side. It's easy to get carried away by the desire to please, by the constant effort to do your best, but at the same time, it's necessary to remember that the fundamental principles we follow cannot be compromised. Stoicism teaches us that we must act in a way that respects our nature and values, without giving in to external pressure. When seeking happiness and well-being in a relationship, we often find ourselves faced with difficult choices. Should we make concessions that distance us from our principles in order to please? Or should we act in accordance with our values, even if it brings momentary discomfort? Stoicism's answer is clear. We must be faithful to what we believe, as this is what allows us to live with dignity and, consequently, relate in a healthy way. It's a common mistake to think that relationship happiness comes only from effort. Effort must always be balanced with the practice of virtue, authenticity, and truth. True happiness comes from living according to our principles and respecting both others and ourselves. The choices we make should reflect our belief in an orderly world, where our actions are in harmony with the universal values of justice, integrity, and wisdom. In a relationship, you need to know when to put in effort and when to just act calmly. Sometimes the real contribution is our ability to maintain calm, respect, and dignity in the face of adversity. This does not mean giving up the effort, but understanding that we should not abandon our inner peace in the name of an ideal or external expectations. By applying Stoic teachings, we are able to act with more clarity, more firmness, and more wisdom, maintaining a balance between giving our best and never giving up on our principles. Now that you know the 9 silent actions to show your true value, without having to say a word, it's time to put all of this into practice. Remember, Stoicism is not about pleasing others or seeking external validation. It teaches us to act based on sound principles, to trust in our own worth, and to maintain our dignity regardless of what happens around us. Each of these actions is a reflection of the person you are inside, the strength and resilience you have built over time. They do not depend on grand gestures or elaborate words, but rather on how you behave, how you act, and how you maintain your own integrity. I know it may seem difficult at first, especially when the desire to be recognized by the one we love is strong. But as you dedicate yourself to living these principles, you will realize that change starts with you, from the inside out. When you become the man who respects himself, who acts firmly and wisely, the people around you, especially your wife, begin to notice. And, most importantly, they begin to respect and value you for who you really are. So, if you want to transform your relationship, don't just focus on empty words or gestures. Focus on being the best version of yourself, living authentically and acting in accordance with what is right, even when no one is watching. The rest will come naturally. You have the power to change the dynamics of your life and your relationship. Start now, and remember, true strength comes from within, not from external things. It's in your hands. Thank you for watching this far. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue receiving the next content. Until the next video.